So imagine this. You're the game director on one of the most successful recent game launches in years. The game is a runaway hit, yet it's still not enough. NetEase just gutted its American team right after Marvel Rivals' success, discarding the very people who built the foundation and treated them like trash. But this isn't just a corporate blunder, it's an existential threat to Western game development. And if you think this won't happen again, well, you're dead wrong. We're watching an industry systematically strip mine Western talent only to replace them with cheaper overseas labor. Now let's talk about what happened at NetEase and why it's a glimpse into a much bigger problem. I don't think anyone could disagree that Marvel Rivals is a runaway success, boasting over 640,000 concurrent players at its peak on just Steam, and raking in millions in revenue. According to the game director Thaddeus Sasser, his Seattle-based group specialized in game and level design and provided strategy and direction for the past couple years to NetEase. Yet once their work was done, NetEase pulled the plug. The second they decided those US wages weren't worth it anymore, the team was shown the door. Jack Burrows, who's a level designer, also confirmed he was among those cut. So let's imagine this. You're moving across the country, uprooting your entire life, your family, your security, because you landed a dream job at a major publisher. Then, just as you deliver a successful product, you're dropped. No future, no loyalty, just gone. And this is not a unique story. This is very much status quo for the game industry now. So Burrows posted on LinkedIn, and I quote, "Well, I just got laid off from my job working at Marvel Rivals with NetEase. It was an enormous pleasure to work with my American coworkers who joined me in this sad calling. Just couldn't dodge that big boot, I guess." And also, Sasser echoed the same frustration. "My stellar, talented team just helped deliver an incredibly successful new franchise for NetEase games, and we were just laid off. So it really doesn't matter if you make a bad game or even a good one. The outcome is still the same. You're disposable." NetEase and Marvel Rivals might be grabbing the headlines right now, but this isn't just a single studio doing this. This is the new normal. Western studios are getting shut down left and right. Talent is being replaced by cheaper labor, and it's not just happening in small, struggling teams. It's happening in AAA and AA developers alike are collapsing under their own weight. Why? Because wages in the gaming industry have skyrocketed, mainly because these companies decide to go into massive populated areas that have insane costs of living. Because that's where the talent is. We also have publisher mismanagement, and bloated overheads are making it unsustainable. But let's look at the numbers, and I think everything will be a little bit more clear. A senior game developer in Seattle makes between $120,000 to $150,000 per year. How much does the counterpart in China make? They make around $50,000 to $53,000. That's a big difference. And if you take into consideration that Western publishers have used Eastern publishers for years and effectively trained them in the pipelines and what they need and how they want it, and to make the same quality level that they make, well, I think the choice is pretty easy there, isn't it? Let's look at another one. A 3D artist in Seattle? Well, that's between $97,000 to $131,000, give or take. But a 3D artist in China? That's $38,500. And that's being very generous. That's less than half the cost, sometimes even a third. So now you're starting to understand the fundamental problem as a whole that the Western industry is facing. Now add on corporate greed, poor leadership, constant crunch, unrealistic deadlines, and massive design pivots, which in turn cause ballooning budgets. The cost of making a AAA game today is astronomical. We're talking $100 to $250 million per game. And if it doesn't sell like GTA or Call of Duty, well, it's considered a failure. Just look at Embracer's Group's implosion, a company that bought up everything in sight, mismanaged all of it, and is now shutting down beloved studios like Volition, who made Saints Row, and Free Radical, who made Time Splitters, because they couldn't sustain their own overhead. Remember Visceral Games? The guys who made Dead Space? A groundbreaking horror series that frankly gave me nightmares? Well, they shut down in 2017 after corporate goals overran the creative process, cost ballooned, and poof, another legendary Western studio gone. Meanwhile, Eastern studios are making games for a fraction of the cost, and they're dominating. So is this just bad business management, or are publishers setting up Western game development to fail? The numbers don't lie. This is exactly how Western devs are losing ground day by day. Let's talk about why Eastern game developers are winning, because this isn't just about layoffs. It's a full-blown industry shift. Elden Ring, Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy, Marvel Rivals, Black Myth Wukong. These are games making headlines. Meanwhile, Western publishers are pushing out live service disasters and gutting their own studios. Tencent, the Chinese megacorp, owns a significant portion of the industry. Their influence is growing rapidly, with new projects like Tides of Annihilation, who just released an amazing-looking trailer that has everyone wondering, who the hell are these guys? Well, it's a game studio called Eclipse Glow Games, and it's a brand new studio based in China. And you guessed it, it's backed by Tencent, proving that Eastern companies are not just competing, they're expanding. And they're taking over. Why? Because Eastern studios are simply making games better, and faster, and cheaper. It's not just cost, it's the how. They make games differently, in a way that players actually want. Let's take Monster Hunter for an example. Monster Hunter World didn't just succeed, it exploded into Capcom's best-selling game of all time. Why? Because it wasn't bogged down by industry trends, no bloated budgets, no unnecessary cutscenes, no half-baked live service nonsense. Instead, Capcom focused on gameplay first, a living, breathing ecosystem where monsters interacted naturally, a player's progression is skill-based, not paywalled behind a battle pass. Now compare that to Dragon Age Veilguard, one of the biggest Western RPG franchises of all time. And BioWare doesn't even know what to do with it anymore. This is a series built on deep role-playing, intricate world-building, and player choice. But the new game's focus? Companion cinematics. Because somewhere along the way, BioWare convinced themselves that what players really want isn't an immersive fantasy world, but a relationship simulator in a Dragon Age skin. And it's not just Dragon Age. Look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, a game that spent years in development hell, only to die at launch. Oh, Redfall, from a legendary studio forced to make a game it had no business creating. It launched unfinished and broken, and led to multiple studio layoffs. Battlefield 2042, Forspoken, Saints Row, game after game. Western publishers keep repeating the same expensive mistakes. Meanwhile, Eastern studios are taking smaller budgets and delivering games people actually want. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. China taking over the gaming industry isn't good for us. And yeah, it's not. There's a real concern about corporate influence, government interference, and industry control. But here's the truth. This isn't happening because China is stealing the industry. Western studios are handing it to them. While publishers here burn cash on bloated, unfinished games, Eastern developers are simply making better games faster and for cheaper. If the Western industry wants to survive, it has to wake up. And fast. Look, I know this is heavy stuff, talking about layoffs and corporate greed and beloved studios disappearing, but stick with me. We're not done yet. There's still a chance that we can course correct this, if anyone's willing to do it. So where does it end? It ends when players demand better. And frankly, I'm tired of seeing my beloved franchises ruined. When we stop settling for corporate garbage, lazy monetization, and games that treat us like walking wallets, we might actually see a change. If we don't, there won't be a Western gaming industry left, and we'll have no one to blame but ourselves. And look no further than the cycle of EA FIFA games that have loot boxes and cards, and I think that's where people don't realize that it's not just the diehard gamers that are the problem, it's the casuals. And if the audience itself doesn't want change and is all right being nickel and dimed, well, a company's not going to change. Why would they? That's not within their best interest to make less money. But if you're fed up with half-finished AAA disasters or layoffs that punish devs more than the suits, you have one real power. That's speaking with your wallet. Yet many gamers are complacent, happily buying loot boxes or unoptimized games, believing the publishers will eventually fix them. But why do those publishers think it was fine to release such broken titles at premium prices? Well, because Western markets have been conditioned to accept lower quality games while paying top dollar. So if we won't speak with our wallets, we might as well embrace the censorship that follows when foreign interests dominate our market. Go ahead. Try it. Try typing Taiwan in Marvel Rivals and see what happens. I'm telling you all of this because more people who realize what's really going on, the harder it is for publishers to keep handing over the industry. We can stop this if we speak with our wallets, our words, and our awareness. Right now, if we ignore these red flags, we'll wake up in a future where every must-play game is made elsewhere. And Western development will just be a memory.